We're going to be starting off with a Spectrum post. And come over to, yeah, there we go. This post is by Enigma. Got a few posts under their belt. Tony's getting bored of Star Citizen. I can see that. A lot of people like that. I don't think CIG is making it any easier though. This Spectrum post is titled, "The project is in clear need of hard decisions." Let's see what Enigma has to say about these hard decisions that need to be made. I'm going to be straightforward here and won't sugarcoat anything. With the latest 324 dropping alive with an astonishing amount of bugs and exploits, it left me wondering what the leadership direction at CIG is towards the PU and what the said leadership is doing to enforce it. There is not a single feature currently in the game that isn't bugged in one way or another, including the core features like server stability, physics, the list goes on. Docking, broken. Cargo elevators, the newest feature, have so many edge case bugs that break them, which were reported in issue council and feedback threads, that it makes me wonder how QA greenlit this release to live. The 324 patch seemed to me as if it was simply thrown out in our faces because of some sort of a deadline. While it is true that we have had that happen numerous times before, this time to rub it in, marketing released a controversial video showing gameplay that is simply unachievable in the game. Don't believe me? Try putting a few guns on a table in your hangar and see what physics does to them. You said that we're running a live service alongside development, and that's fine. Most MMOs do this. I also understand that it's an alpha product. No, it's a product that's in alpha. There's a difference. However, calling the current state of the game playable as a live service, while it's hardly playable even by alpha standards compared to majority of MMOs and games I've tested from closed alpha state, with some examples being Once Human, Throne and Liberty, Arcade back in the day, New World and others, and then releasing a marketing video showing what you can't actually do in the game is just wrong. Other games that use pre-rendered scenes on their marketing videos at least have the decency to put a not actual gameplay footage disclaimer on them to avoid misleading the audience. You thought we were the QA, Doug? We are the QA. It's our fault this game's so shit. We keep greenlighting patches. We gotta stop doing that. Then there's the release cadence. Why are patches like this released on a Friday just before the weekend? In all my years of experience as a senior software architect, we've never released major patches on a Friday, ever, at any company or capacity I've worked in. This is because we didn't want the end user to suffer an incomplete or buggy patch, should something go terribly wrong with it, while the team is on a weekend break. Those commas that they've put in there break the sentence wrong. Most patches are released at the beginning of the week to allow them to soak in and the team to apply any necessary hotfixes. You, on the other hand, have established a long history of releasing patches on a Friday. This makes me feel that there is a complete disregard for me as a backer, with meeting a presumably sales deadline being more important than my user experience. Yeah, well, let's keep going. There's a lot that I've got to say about this. Additionally, this atrocious decision made the already overwhelmed devs have to work a holiday weekend, it's Labor Day in the US at the time I'm writing this post, to fix the patch. How can such a decision positively affect the morale of said devs? And this is the second weekend in a row they have been trying to fix the patch in time for whatever sales deadline they had to meet. I believe we have reached a point in this game's development that requires a leadership team to make hard decisions about how the PU project is managed, directed, and implemented, with whatever unfavorable to some outcomes that may result from them. I think that if this isn't done and done soon, it may lead to the project reaching a critical point of dissonance with the very community upon which it relies, resulting in a potentially unfavorable outcome. This is my 2 cents. I've been supporting this project for 11 years, as much as I could, patiently waiting for the dream to slowly become reality. I just can't see myself doing this any longer. Changes need to be made. CC, C. Roberts, 6'8". 456 upvotes. Like, with what you're saying there, Job, like, I've had limited software development experience. Like, we pushed patches whenever the feature was ready. Like, it just ended up being, it was better for us to push the patch out, and if we encountered bugs then, like, deal with them then. Because there was only so much QA that we could do until it was in the hands of the users. Amiro, have you got your cranky pants on, Amiro? Seems like you're on a bit of a rant. That's alright, mate. Okay. This is a safe space to do that. I am all about getting this anger out. That's why you're here? Alright, I'm glad. Like, this person says that they've been supporting for 11 years, but I don't know if they've been paying much attention during that time, because this is the status quo for how things go. It sounds bad when I say that, right? You know, this is the status quo. This is how CIG does the PU at the moment, right? Sounds bad. The problem is that, and they tell us this, but nobody's really listening because everybody wants the new stuff. CIG did a really good job at selling a dream, and they're really good at selling a dream. The problem is that when it comes to delivering stuff, they're going to be on Struggle Street, well, not Struggle Street, Struggle Highway for quite a few years. The first part of that reason is that they're developing 2 games at once, which people tend to forget. Like, 2 games at once, and, you know, Chris Roberts tried selling the whole angle, oh yeah, but common assets, you know, we use them between both games, so it's okay, we're not wasting that much dev time. No, you're fucking spending a lot more dev time on the product that you're not generating revenue for. Okay, people aren't buying a fucking Javelin for Squadron 42. They're buying a Javelin for Star Citizen. Struggle Goat track, man. Yeah, Doug, no, you got that. You got me there. Yeah, the Struggle Goat track. That's way more apt. 2 games at once with an 80-20 split and focus, yeah. That's the problem though, is like the product that we've got, the product that's in our hands is the 20%. But people aren't buying these ships to fucking fly in Squadron 42. Like the latest one that they released, what, the Peregrine? The racing ship. Unless it features in Squadron 42, you know, that was money that should have been getting funneled towards Star Citizen. But instead, Squadron 42 is being funded off of a lot of this. All the hype dreams are only a few weeks away. That's it. Like, everybody's hopium bloody tanks are really low, dangerously low at the moment. CIG's flirting with disaster by hyping up the next patch whilst giving us a shit one. Let's say, yeah, the copium and hopium refill comes in what, just over 6 weeks. But CIG's pointed this part out. They've asked this question to the backers, and it's always been this rhetorical question. Do you want us to focus on building the game, or do you want us to focus on making a patch stable? Because we're in this position where we can only do one. You know, like, we've done all the features, we've got them in there, they're working as good as we can get them, and now we need to move on. That's the way the development of the 3.0 patches has been since 3.0. Like, that's just the way it's been. Even the previous patches, Arena Commander and what's it called, the Baby PU 2.0 patch series, it's always been this condition where it's like, we can either sit here and hyper focus on making this patch really stable for you guys so that it's a great playing experience, but it's still not the complete game. And the fact of the matter is that when we add the next lot of tech in, it's going to break again. I'm just scrolling back through the chat, just catching up. So Moonflow, look what we got from Squadron 42, new character creator, UI overhaul, Duke, still broken map, and master modes. Only EVA has been a really success for me this year. I wasn't expecting the new map to work 100%. I was just expecting an improved map, and I still believe we've got an improved map. What we had back before we got the new map UI versus what we got now is a vast improvement. And that's the thing, is like, iterative development isn't about, like, your goal is to try and produce features that are as stable as possible. But when you've got so many feature sets that you've got to incorporate into a singular product, you're going to end up in this position whereas as you add new and more things, other things are going to break. You're going to have developers come and go, and you're going to have new people come in and start learning, and the way that they start coding when they're an intern versus when they're coding when they're a senior programmer changes dramatically throughout that time. People will learn things and they'll change things, and they'll look at their code and they'll be like, what the fuck was I thinking then? And rewrite a A4 pages worth of code in like a paragraph. But the problem is, we're experiencing this game as it's being built still. And we're only experiencing the game that's getting the smallest amount of attention in comparison to the other massive project that CIG just drops, what is it, one monthly report on. That's it. That's all we get from them about the big project that they focus the majority of their attention on. You know, this is information that we've been told over and over again, and it just seems like Jared is at the point now where he's giving up, which is unfortunate because this is a thing that needs to be constantly reminded to the community. It's like, do you want stable patch now or finish game eventually? Because if we focus on this patch, the game that you want takes longer to get to. They've got to essentially triage what is worth fixing and what they can live without or live with until the next patch cycle. And it sucks because we're the ones that have to deal with the shit fight. right? And we can't do anything about it other than take a break. And we don't want to do that. We spent way too much money for that, right? But that's the reality that we have to face, is like the game's not finished yet. It's not getting the amount of attention that I believe it should be. You know, if it's getting the majority of the funding, it should be getting the majority of the attention. But that's not the way that it is. So like, what can we really do here? Not play, not give money, have a whinge. You know, those are all things that we can do. That's all within our own control. But like bringing it up with CIG, saying, hey, we're not happy with what you guys are doing, can help them a little bit. But there's like, as old mate goes on, these last two paragraphs that I ended up reading out. Tony, don't worry, I'll get to your question as well. I did see it. But these last two paragraphs here, it just seems like Enigma's just hit the wall, and this is probably one of those things where it's like, just take a break. Take a break from Star Citizen, go play another game. This is the new bloody Space Marine, Warhammer Space Marine 2, apparently supposed to be good. Go and play that. You know, take a break from Star Citizen. I know, we all want Star Citizen to be done. We've been waiting for bloody 12 years now, but what more can we do? Go playing Quenga? I actually saw part of that. I was hooked until Obsidian Ant mentioned that it was still in alpha development. And I'm like, no, I can only handle one alpha at a time, mate. But yeah, like this paragraph here, I believe we've reached a point in the game's development that requires the leadership team to make hard decisions about how the new project is managed, directed, and implemented, with whatever unfavorable some outcomes that may result from them. I guarantee you, they've already done that. Something that I don't think a lot of people realize about Star Citizen's development is that they do a lot of their planning 12 months in advance, and then they go in there with the intent of a plan that they're going to roll with, and then they just adapt on the fly. But what old mate's talking about here, CIG's already identified the problems, why they're trying to bring as much shit across from Squadron 42 as possible. When I read that particular paragraph as well, this is nothing new that's happened to this community. Like, we've been in this position before. 318. Do you guys remember 318? 318 was fantastic. It did not have shitty master modes. Yes, it did. It was just in the experimental. Was it in 318 experimental? Pretty sure it was in experimental mode. But 318 was terrible. Some people couldn't play for a month. A lot of people couldn't play for 2 weeks. We didn't even come anywhere close to that bloody sort of like poorly performing patch. Not even close. Before we keep going any further, I'm going to quickly grab Tony's question there. So Tony asked me, what's your fears of them releasing Squadron 42 and then instead of focusing Star Citizen, they make the sequels? I can't remember which, it was either a 10 for a chairman or around the verse. That question was asked to Chris Roberts, and I believe his intent was to go straight into the next episode. So Squadron 42, it's either, I can't remember if they call them episodes or chapters. I'm pretty sure it's episodes. So the one that they're focusing right now is episode 1. The next one that they're looking at, they're pretty much like, Chris Roberts said that he's going to go straight into the next one. I really hope that doesn't happen. Honestly, I think the entire community, like once we get Squadron 42, the entire community should just start kicking and screaming at CIG to finish the PU and just say, we don't care about the next episode. We do not care about the next episode. Finish the fucking game that we funded. Finish the game that bloody got you guys $700 million fucking dollars. It's nearly at 800 now. Is this stream where we can say things about game, or better don't be pessimistic here? You can say pessimistic things if you want. Like, feel free to say stuff if you're not, you know, happy with the way that things are going with the project. Just understand that I may have a different take on it, so don't be offended if I don't agree or like, you know, buy into any sort of like doom and gloom. They need to take a 3 to 5 year break from Squadron. The problem is though, there, Hawk, that what we would think them taking a 3 to 5 year break from Squadron is the time that they would be actually spending working on it in the background. They just wouldn't tell us about it. Part of me thinks that they might be mad enough to trying to aim for Squadron 42 and commercial release of the Persistent Universe around the same time. Whoa, hot takes there, Moonfly. Holy shit. Chris Roberts ain't that crazy. I don't know who that is, but yeah, like, if you don't believe something, then I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong unless it is objectively wrong. But yeah, unless you start going off on a random tangent, I don't think I've ever banned anybody for having a different opinion. You start like being racist or like, you know, pretty a bigot or anything like that, you'll have issues. But you know, expressing opinion about a video game, fill your boots, mate. They do that though, they can separate Squadron 42 income from pledge funding. Yes, they can, but here's the problem. Where does the talent go? Because money is only one part of the equation, right? And this is the thing that gets me the most about this. Only cheap Hawk viewers. Yeah, exactly, Doug. As long as you're not offering cheap viewers, we might see a bot show up. That's the joke. The talent that worked on Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, where did they go? because that is actually the key to the development time for Star Citizen to draw down, because the more talented people that you get working on the project and that have experience working on the project, the more familiar that they are with the systems, faster that they can produce results, right? And that's the problem here is, like, for me, the development of Star Citizen I've always maintained the development of Star Citizen should be the priority. Like, build the fucking Chris Roberts little story later. Like, personally, I don't really care about it. I have Squadron 42, but that's because when I backed, that was just part of the package. It's like, all right, we'll grab it then. But like, if I pledged this year for the very first time, probably wouldn't bother with Squadron 42 until it came out. I would purchase the product that would be in my hands. I think Chris Roberts wants to grow the company and use the extra devs on Star Citizen, so he can't keep Squadron 42 staffing levels at his minimum, i.e. most people. I know. We'll get the Squadron 42 Standard Edition, but we can Warbond CCU to a Premium or an Ultimate Edition. Holy shit. How angry the community would be about that. People would still pay for it, but people would be angry about it too. They'd be like, we're the reason why you even had a fucking project in the first place, why you were able to achieve this goal. Where is the reward for us backing your project? If anything, the OG and veteran backers should be the ones that just get it for free. Like, I missed out on the veteran backer status, but that doesn't bother me. Like, if they're the ones that really took the plunge when it was just like literally a highlight reel, the reward is in your hangar, yeah. But coming back to what old mate was talking about here, guys, like, I don't know what hard decisions that they're thinking, right? Like, what hard decisions? Like, what, we start cutting features out? What features are going to make it and what aren't? You're going down a really rocky path then, because what should and what shouldn't go in there. Hey, one thing that they could cut that would, like, drop a significant amount of development time, right? Get rid of the AI. Get rid of the AI and watch the development time draw down a lot. Servers don't have to worry about processing AI. All that processing power now comes back to just handling player positions, physics calculations. That's a really hard decision to make. But then you're taking out a significant portion of the PvE gameplay, right? But do we need the AI? Does the AI actually add a lot in its current state? Not really. Broken most of the time. Either static or standing on chairs, ineffective. The only time you ever see the AI actually functional is when the server is really, really performant. Think about that. The AI is great. Yes, exactly. I'm sorry, Google. I didn't mean to talk shit about AI. Like, what else could they strip from the project to get Star Citizen closer to release? Because that's what they're talking about here. That is what they're talking about. Like, hard decisions, you start taking things out. Minimal viable product. What is the minimal viable product of Star Citizen? What's the goal of Star Citizen? What are you trying to do? You also end up crushing the dreams of the solo players? Exactly. MVP depends on who you ask. Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, if you take the AI out, MVP changes dramatically. Like, do you need to do box missions? Like, how do you add danger? Like, not every box mission needs to be a firefight, but like, there needs to be some sort of condition where a player has to take some sort of risk to achieve a goal. Maybe the risk is boredom. I don't know. If you take the AI out and I did a bunker mission, I'm not sure I'd notice, to be honest. Yeah, just put mannequins in there. Just put mannequins in. But that's what I mean, though, is like, what hard decisions is this old mate talking about that needs to be made? Oh, like how the project is managed. Don't release your patches on Fridays, okay? They release it on a Monday and spend the week working on it, and then the weekend working on it, and then the following week working on it. I understand, like, people have this mentality that weekends should be this thing that is blocked off, you don't do anything on it. The weekend is a construct that, we as societies have created in order to make sure that we have breaks from work, right? Moonfly. AI isn't the issue. It's a general networking issue. The OCS tech generates network traffic, for example, and I'm not sure it's the AI really creating the load. Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Moonfly. There is a tech milestone that CIG is pushing for. This is something that I think a lot of backers forget. There is a tech milestone that CIG is pushing for that realistically is probably the most important piece of tech that they need to actually achieve. Like, we keep talking about Jesus tech. This is like the end of the line for all the Jesus tech that we've been waiting for. And there still might be more tech that needs to come afterwards once they got server meshing in. So they sit there, they get server meshing in, they see the performance, and they're like, all right, now we need to make optimizations. This system, we need, they concept additional systems to be able to support server meshing to improve the performance of the servers. Because a lot of the problems that we're experiencing are more than likely networking related. Servers can't keep up with the amount of data coming in from all the players in all the different locations, whilst concurrently running AI simulations, and they don't need to worry about managing databases anymore because that's handled by the replication layer. Technically they do, because they have to have a chunk of that that's relevant to the users that are on that particular shard. So when you look at it that way, it's like we are better off CIG just going, all right, this is a cutoff for 324. Like we'll fix what we need to just to keep things running, but we got to push for 4.0. Realistically for us, 4.0 is when we will start seeing CIG actually fixing proper bugs, because they will know, they'll have a better idea of how performant the servers are. They'll have a better idea of what they can and can't do. Some of the issues that we are encountering now, we may not see again when server meshing happens. Now, that's bugs, not design issues, and those are two different things, because there's a lot of design issues with Star Citizen as well that CIG could be addressing all the way through the development, irrespective of the tech milestones that they're supposed to be hitting. As everybody keeps pointing out, UI. The state of the UI for this game it just keeps going around and around in circles. Doesn't really get better, it just changes. And for me, it's like I'm just looking at what they keep putting in there, and like at this point I don't even know what they could do to fix the UI. Probably the best example that you can give with the problem with the UI is the clutter that you see on the screen during massive space battles, all the individual markers. Now, was it the monthly report, I believe somebody showed a sentence out of it where they were looking into like how they can group icons that are close to each other in the UI so that you don't have as much screen clutter. Like, that's a potential solution, but what is that going to look like? Well, let's take a step back from that, like that issue, and let's look at something that they could address now. The Dark Law actually did, it was a post on Twitter, it was a few months back, not long after we got 3.23 and the new UI update for quantum travel. And all the quantum travel markers just looked the same, or almost looked the same. That's a UI issue, that's a design issue. Like, they didn't differentiate the UI for the locations well enough, other than like the shapes are so similar to each other. Like the outposts all pretty much look like the same shape. The main cities are a hexagon, whereas the other outposts are like a triangle, but the edges on the corners on the triangle are cut off. They're technically a hexagon as well. Map routing seems to have gotten worse in 3.24 as well. They've done some things that I believe that it looks like they're no longer routing through OM1, so a lot of like the previous algorithm that they were using for the pathing would route through OM1, but it looks like what they're doing now is they take the destination point and do it backwards from there, as opposed to the before the UI update, where it would be from your location to your destination that you wanted to go to. Star map functionality was a downgrade all around big time. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, like the old star map, the search functionality that it had. The old star map where you could look inside the ships and see the location that you're at. The old star map where you could see the layouts of the buildings that you're in. Oh wait, it didn't have that. The new star map's functionality was an upgrade. The problem that we've got is functionality, not presentation. That's not presentation. They literally added the maps for the buildings. That's functionality there. We didn't have that before. They had to add that functionality in so that we could actually see the internals of buildings and the routing for internals of buildings too. Don't get me wrong, the new star map does have issues, but it's leagues ahead of the old star map. Flying around, which is its main purpose, got worse. I don't believe that. Like, my experience with this new star map is still better than the old star map. What Sorrel literally just said there, I do hate the zoom in just too far. Like that probably pisses me off the most. But other than that, like, I have no issues with the star map. Maybe it's a unique issue that you've got there, because I remember frequently going into the old star map and selecting my destination and then hit set route, and then it wouldn't work, and then I would have to close the star map and reopen it just to set the destination. Whereas the new star map, it's sometimes I just have issues because I'm not at the quantum travel ceiling to be able to set my route. Honestly, the star map is a microcosm of COG development. Lots of snazzy visuals, no, not actual function. SC looks good, but is devoid of the essential elements that make it an actual game. I don't know, like, my experience I understand what you mean. Like, the focus is heavily on the visuals, but I've had lots of in-game experiences that have made Star Citizen feel like a game. The difference, though, between what I've experienced in Star Citizen and other games where I've had that same feeling is the amount of time and effort that you've had to put in to achieve that feeling in Star Citizen. Like, you have to work at it, and the stars and planets need to be aligned. Ideally, the skybox is clear and you can actually see the stars in the background. But yeah, like, I've had the experience where Star Citizen felt like a game on more than one occasion, but like, it's still far off from it just being the natural state of things, which is unfortunate. And so you can search for party members. You just start typing in the name. Actually, no, 324 they broke that. 323 it was working. So I used to do it all the time. I couldn't find somebody's party marker because it was amongst a cluster. I'd search the name and be able to select them to jump to. We're always finishing the videos to sell ships, and if those ships really come, then especially if, yeah, well, different teams, to be honest. Like, marketing team doesn't really have to do much in terms of debugging the problems. They just got to make it look good. That said, they've made sure that the pledge store has minimal issues. The quantum travel HUD is part of your review. Star map and quantum travel HUD kind of different, and even then, like, the quantum travel HUD, like, group jumping is a lot more clearer of who's actually in charge of the jump, how many people are closer to it in comparison to what we had before. Yeah, Doug, like, that is probably one of the biggest problems that we've got, like, party markers disappearing. Like, you guys saw the hit that we did last Tuesday and the pain that we had to go through for that. The resulting skybox was proof that CIG is doing reviews independent of backer feedback, and they're making design decisions on whether or not they should change things. Like, for all we know, all they've done is just brought Stanton's bloody skybox in line with the standard that they've set for the skyboxes in Squadron 42. Could you imagine that? In Odin, it's not green soup, it's like a bloody orange soup or something like that, or brown soup. This post here, I understand, like, this, it's clearly a frustration that a lot of people have. Everybody feels this at different points in time, right? What the fuck are you doing, CIG? Can't you make things work properly? What the fuck is this shit? Sort your shit out. Why have you released this broken patch? And they've given us the answers to these questions. What are we doing? Well, we're building a game, and it's not easy, and it's not game construction, it's game development. The only constant in game development is change. Really buzz lines that fucking Jared likes to use to describe game development. But we all have to accept, you know, like, it's the shittiest thing. We're all on the sidelines watching. That's it. We're on the sidelines watching. You can voice your concerns. That's what Spectrum's for. As long as you're doing it in a constructive manner, which Almeida's done. You know, it's resonated with a lot of people. Honestly, if it gets to this point for you guys, my advice for somebody who's played this game as long as I have is take a break. Go play something else. Like, if you're unhappy with the state of things, just take a break. Don't like it is just a game at the end of the day, and unless you're working on it, there's no real reason to stress yourself out over how they're doing things. Like, if you strongly believe about how a mechanic should work or how a profession should be or anything like that, then yeah, like, give your feedback on Spectrum about it. Putting yourself through this particular issue. Don't stress yourself out over this. Carlton, yes, there you go. Positive take. You're like, we don't have PvPers and PvE players complaining about the other one. Everybody's just angry with the game. CIG has unified the community. The Enigma guy who made this post is an uber whale. Is he? Does he flaunt it? No, he doesn't. Most people who like massive whales for the game will flaunt it with their Legatus thing. We all love the PvE players, Sorrel. Like, I remind myself nearly on a daily basis when I play this game that, one, I am making a conscious decision to do this, so I will take responsibility for my own actions. I really felt this bad about it, and, you know, was going down this, you know, path, like, line of thought. I'd be looking at taking a break. You even put a disclaimer on the launcher now, enter at your own risk? Really? I haven't even noticed. I just thought it was funny how they keep misspelling I consent to PvP as LAUNCH. Don't let it get to you this bad, guys. Don't. It's not worth it. It's a game. It is just a game. We're going to look at ending this particular segment there. So to close off this particular post, if the game's getting that bad for you, like, and you're starting to lose hope and lose faith in the project and it's upsetting you, just take a break. It's only a game. Don't stress yourself out over it. You don't need to keep throwing money into it. Just take a break. It'll be healthier for you. Don't beat yourself up over it.